Greetings to you viewers from across the globe. You're welcome to the show Viewpoint, where we discover perspectives and embrace dialogue. I'm your host, Odiawa AI. I do believe you're having a marvelous Thursday morning. We will implore you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Veegil Media, and follow us across various social media platforms. And also download the app, the Veegil app on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. On the show today, Viewpoint, we will be talking about the Panacea to IPOB's Quagmire. Now, when I mean Panacea, now I'm talking about what remedy will be disseminated or disbursed, or would I say discharged to IPOB's Quagmire. It's no news making the rounds that IPOB has always been trending on media platforms and also the internet or internet media platforms also. Conventional media and digital media, I mean. And they seem not to be escaping the lips or the ears of everyone locally or globally all over the place. Now, would it be in place to address the incarcerated helmsman of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, as the William Wallace of Scotland? In this case now, he happens to be the William Wallace of the Southeasterners. Maybe, maybe not. Now, recently, the voiding of the proscription of the indigenous people of Biafra by the Enugu High Court and the court's declaration that the endless incarceration of its helmsman, Nnamdi Kanu, is continually, unconstitutionally undefined. Now, having jointly raised the bar in promoting a political settlement to the impasse surrounding the duo, notwithstanding the right of the federal government to appeal against the court's decision and the appeal, which can go either way, the ideal thing is to see the subsisting declaration as middle ground for initiatives to bring lasting peace and harmony to the embattled southeastern region. Now, the organization was proscribed by the federal government and the Southeastern Governors Forum after IPOB was declared as a terrorist group or a terrorist organization, a declaration that the Enugu High Court actually voided in a judgment following a suit challenging the declaration. Justice Anthony Onovo actually faulted the 2017 proscription, declaring it as illegal, unconstitutional, null and void. Now, that's a lot of adjectival quantification to show disapproval from Justice Antonio Novo, if we'll call it that way. Now, the judge further ordered that the government pay Nnamdi Kanu 8 billion naira in damages and to tender a public apology to him through newspaper publications. Well, though in any case, IPOB's helmsman, Nnamdi Kanu, through his counsel, Mr. Aloy Ejimako, actually approached the court to seek the renewal of a proscription, urging that the court should declare that IPOB's proscription was actually illegal and it was an organization actually composed of citizens of Nigeria, of the Igbo people and other Eastern Nigerian ethnic groups professing political opinion of self-determination. Now, the judgment is a further boost to the fact that the Court of Appeal in Abuja, which in October as at 2022 declared the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya, if we'll recall, as actually unlawful, in addition to vacating the terrorism charges against him, while ongoing legal proceedings against IPOB and its helmsman or helmsmen may have become necessary for the government, considering the sensitive nature of the issue involved. The fact, however, remains that the prevailing standoff can be better and more quickly resolved through truthful or sincere political engagement. This can be in defense to public opinion and the view of Igbo elders, because they ought to have a say also. Because I want to believe that the gray hair shouldn't be for fancy, while the young and black hair engages in all sorts of viciousness. Now, be that as it may, now that resolution is the antidote, as far as I'm concerned, to be needed to convey peace and harmony in the Southeast, which is actually bedridden and torn with blood and flesh all over the place, which of course should not be optically pleasing. Now, this has been bogged down by its sit-at-home orders continually issued by IPOB and groups claiming to be IPOB. Now, going now historically down memory lane, how did Biafra come about? It actually came about, why? Because the Southeasterners in that region actually came on board to feel they were actually being marginalized. Now, the marginalization is another aspect or kettle of fish which will actually prolong the discussion. It not just started from IPOB now. It now appears to come on the scene as an ideology. Initially, it was just bare Biafra. Actually, a secessionist region clamoring for, independence. Then metamorphosed into MASOB, if we recall MASOB, Movement for the Actualization of Sovereign States of Biafra. Now morphed into IPOB now. Now, are they not subjecting themselves to all forms of criticism and not applying a dialogue to actually see how they can address these issues? Because frankly speaking, the good book will always say, earthly things are likened to heavenly things. If you go and meet your father, raising your voice, demanding for your school fees, you definitely might not get it. If at all you get it, it might end up with a curse. Now, it's the same thing. The federal government here happens to be the father. I believe dialogue should be the way forward and not this combating nature. Now, that's just a deviation. Now, factually speaking, the cancerous security state in the Southeast, amidst the lingering legal tussles, compels consideration of a political solution by the federal government towards addressing the complex issues surrounding IPOB's separatist agitation in the overall interest of the polity. Without a doubt, it will be imperative for IPOB's crucial actors or stakeholders in the Southeast to actually reciprocate the gesture by welcoming political resolution, taking into cognizance of the fact that legal option would most likely end up, like a long winding route. The journey might quite be long. Now, that may eventually yield no palpable outcome or results in the long run. Now, regrettably, IPOB's agitation seems to have delegitimized sincere clamor by the Southeastern people. Now, for inclusive federation, I mean. Now, whatever the case may be, separatist agitation speaks to the contradictions that actually has befuddled the Nigerian states and therefore calls for engagement irrespective of misgivings. Now, when I mean misgivings here, I mean whether the federal government or the Southeasterners or even its stakeholders or its helmsmen might be at fault. There's always need for dialogue about IPOB's activities. It must be emphasized, though, that the modus operandi adopted by IPOB's frontliners is pretty unacceptable because of the gory scenes we have seen either in footage, by visuals, videos, even audios on the radios or podcasts. Definitely. And it can no longer be tolerated as it has proven unhelpful and extremely counterproductive. Notwithstanding the post-war marginalization sentiments. Now, when I talk about the post-war marginalization sentiments, I'm referring to the aftermath of the Civil War of 1967 to 1970, which was quite gory for 3 years. Now, that is entrenched in the marrow of the Southeasterners and must not be permitted to persist even up till now, 2023, and subsequent years after. The incumbent administration, might I advise, as a matter of necessity or urgency, they actually should avoid the pitfalls rather of its predecessors that actually failed to depict unfettered commitments towards addressing legitimate demands of sincere federalism, which remains germane as ever. It is about time to concede that dialogue remains a more potent weapon in our arsenal, because there are so many other weapons out there, and some people have chosen the physical guns which are made in the days of peace, which are now instruments of violence or to disturb the peace at the end of the day, if I may put it that way. Now, most of the brutal forces of the government could possibly muster in addressing the knotty issues surrounding IPOB's secessionist agenda, taking into cognizance that the irrefutable contradictions that fuel disaffections, dissatisfactions, and agitations against the Nigerian state will be quite unfathomable at the end of the day. It should be disturbing that the legal proceedings reading IPOB's proscription as well as its helmsman's incarceration are turning out a distraction to meaningful engagement on the serious issues of viciousness and insecurity that has emerged as a common feature across the Southeast all over. Recently, I was watching a video and policemen were shot flat dead. Now, even the just concluded off-cycle elections in Imo State, there were perceived fears that actually it was going to be upturned. But we're happy at how things turned out. Now, more bugging is that the Nigerian state has neither sincerely kept faith with the legal options it initiated against IPOB and its helmsman, nor explained political options in engaging the issues which actually sure-footed commitment should be maintained. It is quite sad that the tempo of also the agitation has refused to lounge away in a jacuzzi after 2 decades of the civil rule. Eyebrows should be raised about that, and I think jaw should be exercised in the name of talking about this matter. Separatist impulses in the southeast in particular have not actually abated in spite of the proscription of IPOB and the detention of its helmsman. Contentions all along, actually, sectional or ethnic divides should therefore also be explored for mutual discourse to rewrite the narratives around the fault lines, that underscores the continued demand for sincere federalism. Now, most importantly, more than ever, the Southeast has continued to be entertained by seasonal violence in spite of the proscription of IPOB and incarceration of its helmsman, Nnamdi Kanu. While the actions of the government could be seen as justifiable, it would appear that deploying political engagement as an alternative option could no longer be discountenanced and in fact ought to be put at the top on the agenda of the current administration. We must be constitutionally awakened to the fact that secessionist agitation offends the 1999 Constitution and poses threats to the sovereignty of Nigeria. And not just Nigeria now as we speak, any nation that is operating a federalist system of government, notwithstanding the federal government in exercise of responsibility to safeguard the white-collar existence of the nation. It has a primary duty to address its issues bordering on agitation, including engaging with separatist campaigners to actually know what their plights or demands actually are. Adopting legal actions or deploying punitive measures will not actually quench the deep-seated or embedded discord of issues that underpin agitations. Now, on a final note, before I draw the curtain on today's episode, it is high time IPOB on its own part moderates its excesses in its campaigns and adopts a more persuasive and less rebellious or combat approach in its agitation. It cannot yet play a crucial role in the push for more inclusive integration of the Southeasterners within the national polity, while it must be admitted that the unpleasant happenings of the recent times have further deepened the wounds and the scars are now more pronounced. Prospects are healing and should, however, be welcomed without further delay in the collective interest of the nation. I have not just pointed fingers at IPOB alone. I have also pointed fingers at also the federal government and also pointed fingers at secessionist campaigners under any federal system of government. Now, it will always be advisable that the Constitution must speak first before any individual at the end of the day. I'm Odiawa AI for Veegil Media, and the show has been Viewpoint. You do well to subscribe to our channel, Veegil Media on YouTube, and also follow us across various social media platforms. Don't forget to download the app on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Thanks for watching.